Yo, 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 what's happening?
Yo,
What's
what's
We
going
up?
live.
on?
We live. Yo, I got the wrong things up here.
Mike
There we
Porter,
go.
what's happening?
Mike Porter, what's going
Hey,
on? I've been
the
enjoying
homie Mike
the holiday
Porter.
dad jokes on Twitter. Top notch.
Yo, daily.
Gotta.
He come
I've been
with
giving
them
him
things
3,000.
daily
Dad jokes on Twitter.
on
He's been
Twitter. Daily,
holiday
dog.
dad jokes right now. Let's see if I can get one up before we go in. Let's see.
Like you talking about commitment. Like this, he is committed to the cause. Like he's been
Yeah.
doing this daily for like months. Like every morning, dad joke. It's great. It's great. You know what I'm saying? Especially if you like that, if you like dad jokes, man. Like dad jokes are some like underrated classics.
Yeah.
I think how's
What's
how are
today's dad joke? I'm like,
think Amani's but she's gonna
I'm
pull it up.
trying to find it. There we go. Oh, he got the full government name on there. That's why I couldn't find him. Okay, here we go. Here we go. Here we go. Did we get a dad joke today?
grilled hot dogs. Huh?
He started writing your own jokes. Let's go. I see the vision. I see the captain's logs also in the building. What's happening? I know you ready to talk
Going
about
on.
this.
He's in the building
Uh
where?
the second comment. Captain's log. You don't see him?
Oh snap! I need new glasses.
Look at you. Check it
Our
out.
end,
Here
it
we go.
looks
We go.
similar.
Anyway,
He's been
we go.
heavily tweeting about the finale of Hawkeye plus Spiderman. So I can't find a dad joke, but I'm gonna keep scrolling till I get to one. Okay, my attempt of dad joke of the day, Christmas edition. Why was the ornament thankful to the tree?
Cause it let him hang around.
Dang, Mike Porter, he got you.
Oh, that was it. Hey,
That was it. That was
Oh man,
yeah. Mike Porter, we're here.
um,
that is hilarious. Yo, we should. I guess we should. We should probably post some of those into the Discord.
absolutely. That's peak dad joke right there. That's high on the dad joke meter.
Yeah, that's like at the stepdad joke meter right there.
You can't get more dad than stepdad. That's very
uh,
All right. So how we gonna start this thing off, Amani? What we doing? What's at the top?
I mean, let's get this out the way because we really want to talk about something else. But if we don't talk about this now, we won't get to it. Today we saw the season finale of Hawkeye. If you didn't watch it, leave and come back in like 15 minutes. That's how much we're gonna give this.
We can give it about 15 minutes of
15 minutes,
spotlight. 20 minutes maybe.
All right,
It's
just
just that
20
we only
minutes.
gonna be talking about the finale.
if you can't tell, JBM don't like it.
This is
Yeah,
gonna
I
be a
just
fun.
my one word review pass.
All right, let's start by doing what we always do on a scale of 1 to 10. How would you rate the finale?
This episode.
Yes.
I think I give this episode a 2.
Oh my god.
Uh, man, like a 1.5.
I enjoyed it. I gave it like a 7.
Yo, a
That's
7?
crazy.
I enjoyed it. I'm confused. What didn't y'all like about it? I thought the episode was pretty on par with the rest
The
of
production was like, it felt rushed. Like I could see people's punches not connecting.
Nah.
Um,
Hold on.
the writing was
I
crazy
need to
off.
hear. I need to hear the positives from Amani before, because you and I had this conversation, JBM,
it.
like
Was
Yeah.
1-on-1. Like, bro,
entertaining.
we was lighting this thing.
It was
It was bad, dog.
entertaining.
It was bad.
It
It was
didn't.
bad.
I didn't have any questions. All my questions got answered. I enjoyed the LARPers, so it was a very LARPer heavy
Oh,
episode that he put them to work. Okay. Yes, I agree with the captain's log. However, I'd argue
indeed.
that the entire show was premium cheese. And I chose to stick around and watch the previous, and I learned to enjoy it. Now, I do think last episode was the best episode, and I would give that episode a 9, 10 even. And I'd give all the previous ones lower scores. But to me, this is like the second best episode of the show. I don't really understand.
Ooh. All right.
Episode 5 was when Yelena popped up, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They had that whole fight scene. Like
episode
they
4
had
was at the end. She popped up.
Was it at the end of episode 4?
Yes, and you see her face there.
Okay. Well, here's the thing. Well, I don't know. JVN, you wanna go first, or you want me to go?
The finale felt like it was completely separate from the other 5 episodes. You didn't get that sense at all.
It does not feel
like everything about it felt like it was from a different universe of Hawkeye.
I mean, I don't know. Is Mike Porter talking about the Broadway scene?
He's got to be talking about.
I enjoyed that. Y'all really didn't like that?
Bruh.
I think.
Hold on. Let me bring up Captain's log message again.
Okay. So
grade A.
Boy, I was like, bring out the charcuterie. We got cheese.
That was an hour-long charcuterie board.
It was supposed to be cheesy. Back to the first episode, he is sitting there not feeling it at all. He had the same sentiments that you had. Yo, that's wild cheesy. Why would they make this? So it was exactly what they made it to be. It's not like they were going out of their way to make a great show. It was, how can we make this as cheesy as possible with proper Broadway production? And I think they did that.
See, I don't think their intent was to be cheesy. I thought they were like, I bet they thought they were on some clever stuff. You know what I mean?
No, if you go back to episode 1, it's him and his children watching the show, and they all got the same look on their face. They were not feeling it. I think the point of the end credit scene was, in order to film the original scene in episode 1, they still had to create the play. They had to make the song. They had to get the actors. They had to rehearse that. So they were like, we did too much work for y'all not to see this. So we're going to give it to you. And I appreciate it.
Look, I gotta shine a spotlight on my man Mike Porter for this one. All right. Now, y'all, how long we been ranking Marvel things on this show? Since the beginning of the year?
He gives
since WandaVision?
9,000 out of 10.
He gives everything a 9,000 out of 10. Or higher. This man gave this episode a 7. That should tell you how bad this episode is.
That
he's a 10, dog.
It's a 7.
He came back on the bell curve for this.
Just like I said. Mike Porter.
Come on, man.
Are you being generous with that 7 out of 10, or is that how you feel?
Absolutely, he's being generous with the 7 out of 10. That is horrible. This episode is terrible. All right,
like you said, a normal person -12.
I'm gonna tell you why this is bad. Now, mind you, I am the cheese and all that throughout the first 4 episodes was fine, but they were building up towards something a little bit more significant with each episode. It was getting less cheesy and less cheesy with each episode. Episode 5 ended off with a cliffhanger, and that is Kingpin. And we know how big a deal Kingpin is. If you didn't know how big a deal Kingpin is until you watched the Marvel Daredevil show and saw how big a deal Kingpin was, you knew what it means to bring in Kingpin.
Exactly.
And so you don't
they got the Dollar General version
with a cliffhanger like Kingpin, and don't expect me to be like, oh, we about to get down to the nitty gritty with this joke. They reverted back negative 100 degrees all the way back to the cheese. Like, this felt like Scooby-Doo Looney Tunes instead of like a season finale. Like, I'm like, what is it? It felt like some Marvel parody of Home Alone. Like, it was super cheese.
Yeah.
Super cheese.
It was all
and
brief.
Like, I'd never text y'all while I'm watching a show. I'm 12 minutes into this episode, bro, and I am blowing this thing up like, yo, what? I don't know what I'm watching.
What kind of office was Kingpin in?
I don't understand none of this. like
Yo, that office he had looked like a garage. I'm like, what is this?
I feel like.
and then you kill him. Like you shot and killed. Like, are you
We
kidding
see
me?
him die.
Bruh, we watched Kingpin
We watched old girl
literally
shoot him in the chest with
shove
an arrow.
somebody,
Cut that off like it was nothing.
we seen Kingpin shove somebody's head between a door and just slam it closed repeatedly until like their head was basically jelly. And then this is Kingpin that we talking about, and he's like having a hard time with Kate Bishop. Like, no, man.
Kate Bishop got super bones in her body.
What's that? This man got hit by a car.
And how she get all that momentum for the car? It was parked on the side of the road.
That, and then also she was real winded for only driving 5 feet. I did think that was odd. She didn't go too far, and she was in the car like,
like she went. Her speed was as if she was speeding down the road, and she hit him.
I have Disney Plus open on another tab. I just watched the Echo and Kingpin scene. You do not see Echo shoot him. You see her holding a gun to him. You see the camera pan off, and then you hear a gunshot. One thing I have learned about Marvel, Star Wars, anything, any show you like, if you do not see someone die, you don't know that they're dead. So
this is true.
don't think that he's dead.
That's a fair point, but it was completely unnecessary cliffhanger. Completely
exactly, completely unnecessary.
We did not need that.
Like, why are we in this direction?
I would have preferred a level of uncertainty as to where that conversation went at that point, because we know it's a confrontation. How that ends, I'd rather be that left on the cliffhanger. Like, I'd rather not know. Like, and I got to back up too, because like there is a lot of stuff that happened in this episode that I just could not get down with at all. Like, my man, I don't understand the turn with the Three Musketeer swordsman, who is he's the villain the entire show. He goes to jail for 24 hours and comes back like the most reformed man I have ever seen in my life. Like, I don't know what kind of prison system they got in Marvel, but goodness gracious, like, we need that in real life, because he came back like just jolly, happy-go-lucky dude. He's fighting in the streets like the Three Musketeers. Like, him and Kate are on good terms now. Like, I can't. I'm like, how did all this happen in one episode?
His arrest didn't seem real to me in the first place.
It didn't.
It didn't.
But in this episode, they wrote it as if he really was arrested.
I mean, maybe someone saw him get rolled out on handcuffs, but it just seemed very fake to me. So I was under the assumption that his arrest was orchestrated by old girl, and then also by the mom, and then
that's believable. Like, I can see the whole thing being a facade, but like, I don't understand how he's a completely different person in this episode than he has been the entire show. Like, that, I don't like stuff like that in shows. I don't care like what it is. You can't just all of a sudden have a character just turn and completely act out of character like that quickly. Like, I can see evolution in the character and him eventually coming to that point, but for him to go from one way in 5 episodes, then in the final episode he's just completely different type of person. Like, I'm like, yo, what? I felt like I missed an entire 2 or 3 episodes like watching him in this episode.
Armand the 7th. What's the little boy's name? Armand the 7th, or whatever,
something like that. I don't know.
He seemed like the same character to me because he threatened to tell everybody that the boy peed on himself, and I thought that was pretty mean.
What? I must have missed that part.
I'm talking about the dude. This is the same dude that had a one-on-one with Kate in the hallway of her house, because they were fencing like that. Like, there was a level of mystery to his character, and you didn't know like what his true intentions were. It was like he was being like this as a.
There was no cheese in his character much.
Yeah, like he was he seemed like he was acting cheesy to kind of mask his nefarious deeds.
Yeah. Hawkeye seemed a bit out of character also. Like, he all of a sudden is accepting Kate as his partner now, which was, I was like, okay, what?
And then Jon Snow can't hit the side of a house from the kitchen. Like he could that was the worst shooting I've ever seen.
I agreed that was bad. Okay, fine. You're starting to turn me. I now give it a 6, but I'm not going to on that.
That was like I'm like, bro, you're like 50 meters away from a target using a sniper rifle and with a laser pointer. Who puts a laser pointer on a sniper rifle? That's the exact reason why you don't put a laser pointer on a sniper rifle, because you're gonna see it. Like I cannot. I hate that. I just can't.
Hey, yo.
He couldn't hit nobody in that room. No, I'm like,
everybody would scroll.
Why would you send him? No, that's
yeah. I was like, who Kingpin don't employ idiots like this? Everyone that worked for him was an idiot. I'm like,
complete
what?
Idiot. The tracksuits, idiots.
How many of them are there? Dang.
Why ain't none of them got
soccer
guns?
Stadium full of tracksuits.
Bro, the tracksuits jump out the back of the minivan. 2 of them got pistols. The rest of them got bats and swords. And then my man Three Musketeer comes out in the nick of time and just start fighting all of them. And I'm just like, bro, what's going on?
Yeah, he had a literal knife for the gunfight.
And then Yelena and Kate Bishop, all of a sudden they're like best of friend enemies. Like, and they're just going through the elevator, like fighting.
I don't think that was far off from last season. They were sharing macaroni and cheese with the same spoon.
But
to me, that's not a stretch. Where they were last.
I didn't notice that. The same spoon.
She only had one spoon. That was a part of their argument. Yelena was like, "Why do you only have one spoon?" And she was like, "Because I'm one person."
There was that was different though, because like there were mind games being played. Like she knew she had. She had the dirt on Kate's mother the whole time.
Yeah,
she was just playing mind games with her the whole time. Like that was a whole different situation. Like that was her more or less in Black Widow. Like when we were introduced to Yelena in Black Widow, that was how her character was, and that was true to her character from the movie. And in this episode, I'm like, yo, who is this? Because this is not the version of Yelena that I'm accustomed to.
So I think Yelena was a lot harder of a person in the first Black Widow movie. I think this Yelena is a little bit more passionate, more free. She has her freedom. The previous Yelena was kind of like on the run. So I would say that she could now feel for others and that she felt for Kate Bishop.
But she's trying to kill Hawkeye. That's the whole purpose of her character being in there. And I don't like the resolution of that either. Like they get down. She finally has a confrontation with Hawkeye, and Hawkeye knows who this is, and he's like, "Oh, I'm sorry, you wouldn't believe the story if I told." Like now, all of a sudden, he's ready to die. Like the whole thing is he's trying to get back to his family, and I'm like, is that situation that unbelievable that you couldn't explain to Yelena? And
and he never mentioned his family in this episode.
She literally got snapped away. She was blipped away. Like, you don't think she could believe that her sister would sacrifice herself to save Clint? Isn't that like a part of her character? Like, don't we know that to be true about Black Widow?
Their whole conflict could have been resolved in one episode.
It was a completely like senseless, like that whole beatdown did not need to happen. Like they could have had a real conversation, because I agree with you. She was open to it. Kate had definitely softened her heart to be more open to what the possibility of Hawkeye being good. And like, I would have much rather them have that like emotional conversation that they had, and Clint actually telling her what happened, because he eventually did tell her what happened. But like, what was the whole point of that 5-minute long beatdown? Like you just wasted time at that point in the script.
Even though he did tell her, I think Hawkeye's issue with saying that you wouldn't believe me is that I don't think he can accept that she sacrificed herself for him after he spent all those years being the Ronin. in his mind and in everybody else's mind, he was not worthy of being saved, and it should have been the other way around. Now, yes, she knew he had children and people that love him, but he still spent all that time being the Ronin. So in his mind, he didn't deserve it. He probably still doesn't think he deserves it. So that's why he wasn't anything.
But
that's why
I have rather heard him say that to her in that moment. Like, I would have appreciated, because I know we all as the audience know that that's how he truly feels. There's no, if you didn't see Endgame, that'd be the only reason why you wouldn't know that Clint felt that way, because that whole fight that they had in Endgame over who was going to sacrifice himself over the Soul Stone would tell you that because he says it in Endgame, he tells her that directly. So why, I just don't understand why he wouldn't want to tell Yelena that, like, get that off his chest, be completely honest with her, because that would build better, that would build a relationship between the two. Like, they both feel strongly about what's
Kate?
No, Scarlett Jo's character. Yeah, Romanoff, Natasha Romanoff. I had Wanda Maximoff in my head the whole time, and I'm like, that's not. But, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, they have a common bond. In watching Black Widow, like, we know that it's not beyond Natasha to sacrifice herself for the greater good, to look out for someone she cares about. Like, they have that connection, because she did the same thing with Yelena. Like, she didn't lose her life over it, but, like, it's the same type. Like, she would have been able to understand that whole situation had Clint explained it to her, and it would have been a really deep and emotional scene, and it would have been, like, really cool from a storytelling standpoint for them to be able to have that moment. And they did, but they had that weird fight before, and I'm like, that none of that needed to happen. We could have just had the whole explanation, and then, you know, they're cool.
I don't disagree with either, but I'm going to say I think we're putting this show on a much higher pedestal that it deserved to be on, and now I'm mad because it showed its true colors in this finale. Also, I think Mike Porter isn't wrong, and that's upsetting to think about.
Oh man.
Yeah, and this is probably the worst show I've seen come out.
They watered down Echo too. I feel they severely. I liked her character when they introduced her. It was so.
Sorry, go.
It was like when they introduced her backstory, like in what was that, episode 3, like that was a saving grace of the show for me, like, because it was very cheesy, but that added like a level of emotional depth, which is why I was like, yo, okay, we're going to build towards something that's a little bit more serious, and we're going to have like a heartfelt, like semi-dramatic conclusion to this season or to this show. And
I'm sorry.
And yeah, I mean, and like it just did not deliver that at all. Like, in my opinion, it was just disappointing.
We know we're getting an Echo show. I think Echo's show is going to start with her getting shot instead of the Kingpin. I don't think he got shot.
Oh, who you think shot Echo?
Tri-Suit Mafia? Somebody.
No. All of a sudden they got guns.
Somebody. But I agree with you. The Echo scenes were very powerful, and just like that Uncool said, you gotta save some of that stuff for her show. I think her show may have the potential to be more powerful. She's a character that we don't know as well, so it gives more room to write versus we've had a whole lifetime with Clint and the Natasha story. So I think that'll be a stronger show.
Okay, it's like I said, I didn't have high expectations for this show going into it. It was, whatever. But this whole introduction and build up to the reveal of Kingpin last episode, to be followed up by this episode, is like, no, I can't get it. What's that video, that GIF you put in the in the Discord, JBM? I can't get with
no. No can do. Hey.
All right.
Yeah.
What are the
Pass.
chances that y'all saw an amazing movie this weekend, another amazing Marvel movie, and after seeing this, your opinions on what Marvel is capable of, although right, have affected how you feel about this finale? Because I think anyone, had you seen this first, not to say that you would not have had the problems that you had, maybe you wouldn't have been as passionate about it had you seen
What?
Spider-Man after and not beforehand.
Seeing,
I,
I don't know. No.
and
The
I've had
stories aren't connected.
yeah, it's no connection or relation to that
If
story
they were
at all.
connected, maybe so.
And as a matter of fact,
Likely so. But
I'm glad you asked that question because I've had time to think about that. And as I said in the Discord, I would much rather rewatch WandaVision than watch the show again. It has absolutely nothing to do with Spider Man. I just feel like, as a whole, I don't understand this finale. Like, it just makes
yeah.
absolutely no sense to me. Like,
Actually, after seeing this finale, it made WandaVision look better.
yeah, because a lot of what happened in WandaVision was just overhype from the community about what could possibly happen. But there's actually a cohesive story in the show. It may not have been the story we wanted to see, but there's a lot of, they don't do weird stuff like this show did with characters and how they just
Switch up.
I felt like Scooby Doo.
All right.
Like I just I don't I'm like I don't know where that came from. Like I can't.
Armand, the Armand that came around after he was arrested might be a scroll because that was scroll behavior, possibly.
Yo, that's their out. That's Disney's out right there. Oh, we messed them up. It's a
Make him
scroll.
scroll.
Yeah.
I'm excited for the Secret Invasion show because we're
Yo.
going to get to see exactly. There's a lot of scrolls around here.
It's, you know what?
But you can't you've got to give us hints if it's a scroll. You just can't
Right.
make it trash.
You could have
for
made
no
that.
reason.
You could have made that. You could have put that in the teaser instead of that damn musical they put in there. Like like what, bro?
Yo.
I got mad because I'm like, yo, they really, this is a whole song. Like they really made a
Yeah.
whole musical. It was
They had to do it for the
3
scene.
minutes,
They were hype off of Hamilton, is what they were.
bro.
I enjoyed that.
They wrote a musical for this show
I agree.
just to put it. Why?
I'm gonna rewatch the finale to see if I feel how y'all feel after a second watch.
Did y'all notice Echo's
just
leg
pay
was
attention.
visible in this show, in this episode? It's the first time since she was since they've introduced her character in that night at the gym.
And just pay attention to how different the characters are in this episode versus how they
Yeah.
acted in the rest of the show. It blows my.
It's
I'm
crazy.
like, it's like they wrote this independent of the rest of the show. It's like they wrote the finale, and then said, "Oh wait, we need a backstory," or it's
Was it
weird. It
reshot?
doesn't feel like it fits. It doesn't feel like it fits with the rest of the show. Like I promise you, even Kate's mom acted weird. What the hell was that line at the end? She said, she was like, "Is this what superheroes do? Arrest their mothers on Christmas?" I'm like, what?
All right,
What?
Yeah.
I agree. I agree with that.
That was a wild lie,
bro.
yo. I
That was
saw that. I was like, man, get out of here.
Yo, I was having heart palpitations, man. Like I'm just like, yo, come on, man. Like what? Who wrote this?
Kingpin in there fighting Kate, talking about some. You are beginning to annoy me.
I'm like, yo,
Man.
Did they hire the CW writers to write this? Like, what's going on here?
Nah, it's a middle school writer on ADHD. That's who they got.
It had to be something, man. I need to know who wrote this because I got questions. I need to see what else they've written because this don't make sense. I need to know who wrote this show. Like I was supposed to look that up, but I need to know that sooner than later.
Oh, we can find out right meow.
Anyway, let's move on to happier subjects. Because now we can talk about something that we all agree was absolutely amazing.
Yes,
Which is
Spider-Man.
Spider-Man.
I have to say a disclaimer.
oh,
Is that the writer?
Yeah.
This does nothing for us, JBM. Sorry.
Jonathan Igla.
I can make a million jokes about it. All right. Disclaimer. I thoroughly enjoyed Spider-Man. However, I'm really tired of leaks because in a way I was expecting more of certain characters than what I got in the film. And I would have much rather just enjoyed the film for what it was versus having all of these spoilers. All of the scenes with Toby, Andrew, and Tom felt like that Spider-Man meme where it's like the three of them.
Yeah.
That was their vibe during the movie. And I think that's great. But the leaks had me expecting more than what I got. So I had to check myself and realize, okay, that's not necessarily their fault. That's the leaks' fault. But if the leaks could stop, I'd be able to enjoy these films better. So I just wanted to get that out of the way now.
I agree with that statement, but for me, that did not take away my enjoyment of this movie at all in the slightest. And I think a lot of it had to do with being in a theater for the first time in a long time that was packed with people, and hearing the crowd of people cheering, and like the sighs and the cries and all just the emotion of everybody watching this film, because like everybody in there was pretty much 90s babies. Like, at least in my theater, it seemed like everybody in there grew up on the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man and Andrew Garfield, and like the three generations of live action Spider-Man that we've gotten over the past 20 plus years. We're that old. And like, it was just, although a lot of it had leaked, it was still enjoyable to watch how it all unfolded, because I didn't know how these characters were going to appear. And I would say more so than the leaks, how they marketed the show kind of, I don't like how they marketed the movie. Like, I would have completely left out the scene on the Statue of Liberty. That did not need to be in the trailer or any of the marketing material, because it was so blatantly obvious that that was a 3-on-3 confrontation with Sandman, Electro, and Scorpio, Lizard. Like, Lizard literally gets punched by seemingly nothing in that trailer. You don't even have to slow it down to see him get hit by something invisible and like fly off to the side. And it's like, they could have left that out, because I think that ruined a lot of anticipation for that. And it was an awesome scene. I would have liked to have experienced that for the first time in the actual theater. And not,
I don't remember seeing that in a trailer. And I kind of avoided the trailers, but I did see the spoilers. Yeah,
you're lucky, because I still, they're like, beyond the leaks, it was an amazing movie. Like, it was, I don't think you can execute a conclusion to really 3 trilogies better than what they did in this movie. Like, talk about, I wish Lucasfilm and needs to take notes on how they did this, because if they were ever able to create a movie that could unify the prequel, OG trilogy, and sequel trilogy fans the way that this movie has unified all 3 generations of Spider-Man, like, yo, you talking about like GOAT level Star Wars movie.
That's probably one of the greatest conclusions in Marvel.
Like, easily. Like, this was so good.
Closure on that was superb.
Yeah, like the way that they handled heartbreak, like the Aunt May scene with Goblin. Like, first of all, give Willem Dafoe his flowers, like, right now, because this dude was on like Joker level villainy, man. Like, that was good. That was a hell of a performance that he gave in this.
I have a complaint. It's not a movie complaint, but I'm mad at a character, and I got to get it off my chest.
Oh, what is it?
I said it before when the trailer came out and we saw it the first time, but Doctor Strange is wilding, and he was wilding just as much as I thought he was. At first, I was thinking, nah, maybe he's a variant. But in this movie, I see he's clearly sane. I don't think he's a variant, but he just made a very poor decision, like
Yeah, he did.
terribly poor.
It did seem out of character a little bit.
And I didn't like him blaming it on Peter. Like, he's literally a kid. How is it? I mean, not the actor, but he's what, 17, 18, trying to apply to colleges. It's fall, senior year in high school. That's where my brother and sister are right now. They can't make no real decisions. They cannot. Any decision that needs to be made in this house, I cannot have that conversation with them. It's not going to be a good one. If you ask them to do something without no instructions, it's going to get done wrong. Trust me. So when Strange was like, you came here for a spell and you didn't even call the school, that's the type of stuff kids do senior year in high school. Like,
yeah, that's the type. He should have asked him about that first before jumping right into a spell that's that dangerous.
Right.
Like that. Yeah, that was a little. I bought that ticket though. I went with it.
I'm not saying I didn't buy it, but it just felt wildly irresponsible. And I still blame all of this on him. I do feel very justified in the mini rant that I had when we saw the trailer, because I still think I'm right. Shame on him for doing that. We lost Ant-Man. It's all his fault.
Yeah, well, you know, Strange likes to flex, and like he knew he could cast a super powerful spell that could do that, and that was his motivation. Like, he wasn't even rationally thinking about the consequences. It's just the fact that he could do it.
Yeah, hopefully they address that.
More so his motivation, but that's
Multiverse of Madness.
But
like that character trait in Strange.
Yeah, it is part of his character. Like, he does have that ego. Like, it's carried over from when he was a practicing doctor too. Like, he's got an ego issue. Like, if think about like the patients that he was taking on, like he was taking on the cases that nobody else could do. Like, that's just a character flaw of his. So like I agree it was wrong that he did it, but that's part of his character. Like, he's going to do that. And I think they are going to touch on that a lot in Multiverse Madness, because that is, we'll see, but we'll talk about that. Because
that's why he's not Sorcerer Supreme. Undeserved. Even though the real reason is because he blipped, but clearly he don't deserve the title. Because you wildin' in these streets.
Yeah, he don't deserve it. He need to take a seat. That's
also
expelled. He need to be expelled for that.
Oh, that's why I don't think Wong deserves it either. Because Sorcerer Supreme, you need to be Sorcerer Supreme. Why are you just leaving? I'm gonna just back out while you make a decision that I don't think you're supposed to make. Aren't you the Sorcerer Supreme? Now, I could understand him doing that because everybody knows he's not the superior wizard. Sorcerer. We know that. He knows that. He got the Sorcerer Supreme title off of a technicality. Cool. But that's still your title, and you should at least hang around and do something. All this leaving now, I don't like it. Yeah. I've had enough. Before it was funny, and now it's getting out of hand. You leaving too much.
Yeah, that was a little plot move they did, forcing the plot.
Yeah, there's got to be some sort of payoff though. Like, if they don't address it at some point, then it's going to be for nil. But I agree. Like, they got to stop using that loophole. Like, it's way out of hand now. Yeah. But like, yeah, no, this movie for me, like, all the nostalgic beats that it nailed. Like, it wasn't cheesy at all. Like, I don't have any real complaints from a storytelling standpoint about how they executed this film. Like, there was still, it was just enjoyable from beginning to end. And like, I loved how they reversed the with great power comes great responsibility scene. Like, I did not see that. I didn't think that they were going to do that in this movie. And I like how they executed.
Yeah, that was a great connection.
Yeah, like, and them all having that vulnerable. And I love that Andrew got to save MJ, and he had that moment. That was, man, it was just it was so many good moments in this movie.
Yeah.
Like, oh man, the feels,
The feels.
the feels, man. Like everybody got their like just do send off. Like, and it's not even a send off, but like it's like it feels like every movie, Spider-Man movie that we've seen is. It feels
Leading up to
genuinely
this point.
connected to the MCU. Like they did a really good job of integrating everything into the story. Like, it's incredible. Like, I mean, this is like Infinity War, Endgame type of
and
connections.
this movie feels like this Spider-Man. This is the first movie where I feel like Spider-Man became Spider-Man for the first time.
Yeah, and it's different. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like it worked for his character. Like he had his moment. It was, man, gosh, it was good. And Willem Dafoe, man, like, whew.
Somebody said on Twitter, said Willem was really Dafoe with his film. I was rolling for like a good 10 minutes. That was a good one. My favorite scenes had to be when they were interacting with one another and just finding out how they were the same or different. And Andrew and Tom like staring at Toby's web shooters. And they were like, yo, that came out of you? Nah, we need more information. How did that work? Because I remember like a lot of people were upset about that because that's not how that's supposed to work. And now like they got the closure on that. Just like, that don't even make sense. I thought that was dope.
How many holes does that come out of?
Exactly.
I said, yo.
They wrapped up not just, things that were left open with the previous films, but even problems. Like they solved an issue that everybody had questions about. The amount of uncles I had to hear complaining about that when that movie came out was crazy, and they shut it all down because the other Spider-Mans thought it was crazy too.
Yeah.
It was a great story being told. Like I like how Toby Spider-Man came to stop Tom Spider-Man with the glider before he's about to strike down on the Goblin. Like that.
Because he knows the pain that he went through.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. Like, yeah, no moment in any of the previous how many films has it been? 9?
What, Spider-Man film?
Spider-Man
no, it's 8 films. 8 films because Toby got a trilogy.
5, 6, 7. Yeah, this was number 8.
Yes.
Yeah, so the previous they took everything into account from the previous 7 films, and like told a really good story with all 3 Spider-Man, and like even how they introduced Andrew and Toby's Spider-Man into the universe, like giving I forget my boy Holland's best friend,
the Snitch.
Dang, that's what you remember this. Oh yeah, the Snitch.
Ned?
Dry snitching.
Ned.
Ned.
Oh, he
Ned,
told everything in that room.
Yeah.
Yeah, like giving him the magic the sorcerer powers, like to be able to open up the portal, and like him, like it's kind of cool because he doesn't know how to properly use magic. And so he's trying to conjure Spider-Man, and so he's conjuring a Spider-Man, but it's not the Spider-Man he's trying to conjure, and he just works well into the I love that. I appreciated that. Like he's still like he's not getting anything right, but it's actually working out. Like it's a happy accident. Like that was really good execution, and how, because I was really curious to see how, because I knew that they were going to bring in the other 2 Spider-Man. I just didn't know how they were going to do it. And I thought that was brilliant because I would not have that would not have been like one of my top 3 guesses for how they were going to bring in the other 2 Spider-Men.
That was a pleasant surprise, and it was so dope to see not just his relationship with his grandma, but to see all the relics that they had in their home. Like this whole time, he's been best friends with a sorcerer and had no idea. And then the grandma is going back and forth speaking to him. What are they, Korean? I might be making that up. I don't know. Lord have mercy.
I don't know. I thought it was Samoan language.
whatever language
some-
it was cool to see them going back and forth and him translating for everybody, and she's yelling at him in their language. I thought that was dope. And then at the end, I'm going to bed. She said, forget all this. I'm going to tell you on
Did
English.
she really go to bed though, or did she get on the phone and call somebody up?
She probably called an auntie or two.
Their family is like magic, so maybe she was like, yo, I don't know, I'm just throwing out possible Easter eggs out there.
We better see him.
It probably is. And man, that it could be an interesting way, because you know how in Shang-Chi, how they had Wong going and kind of recruiting the next team of Avengers. Like, I mean, I would buy that. Like, if he knows that there's a pending threat coming because he is the Sorcerer Supreme, like, and he's more focused on assembling that team, because like technically he can cross, time, space, and multiple dimensions in order to do this. Like, him become like take on that Nick Fury role for this next iteration of this big bad threat that the Avengers are going to have to take on, because I mean it's going to be a multi-dimensional threat, whoever it is, whether it's Kang.
It's got to be Kang.
Well, I mean, he could be a big bad, but it could also be leading to like a MF, like I won't say MF Doom, but Doctor Doom.
Doctor Doom.
Yeah, it's a lot. Like it. I mean, Galactus. Like, there's a lot of characters that could actually be the big bad, because Kang is a big threat, but you also got a possibility of seeing a Galactus, because they really, I feel like that was the best part of Eternals, is that the technology that they use to create the Celestials. Like, I'm like, oh, okay, so we can actually get a real Galactus that's properly scaled to face off the Avengers, because I don't care how crazy the whole Kang arc is going to be. Like, that Galactus threat is going to be insane.
Yep.
Cosmic threats.
I did want to mention that in the comics, Ned's character becomes the Hobgoblin. So I do wonder if
that too. Ooh.
Like, at some point maybe he uses his powers for that, or how
Hobgoblin didn't have powers.
He didn't, but Ned does. So what is Ned to do with this? Also, with the way magic works, there's no way that Doctor Strange peeped that he has power and isn't going to do anything. He conjured a swing ring on his first try and sent Doctor Strange away, and then conjured them up several times after and brought in 2 different Spider-Man. Like, that's the talent that a lot of people, he didn't even have. Doctor Strange couldn't do it the first time. It took try after try, and it took the Sorcerer Supreme to leave him on the Himalayan mountain to figure it out, or Mount Everest, I think it was. So Ned is powerful just to be able to do that as quickly as he did it. So we're going to see more of him, and it may not be good.
Yeah, he is going to MIT. That might be his villain training.
And he's got, I mean, he's lost all memory of Tom Holland's Peter Parker.
Yeah.
And it seems like he and MJ might be a lot closer than, like, I don't think they're dating, but I think they're a lot closer than they were prior to forgetting who Peter was. And
that could be a splinter.
Yeah.
That's what happens in the comics. It's another woman, though.
That could be interesting.
Dang.
Man, that's a tragic fall.
That
would actually make a really good, like, story, but ooh, that would be tragic, bro. It's like that's heartbreaking, man. It's like Anakin Skywalker level heartbreaking.
Yeah, it is.
It's like,
because Ned would never.
He's so innocent,
but then that enchantment, like, changes the possibility to change things.
Exactly.
Deviate from the timeline.
Someone asked, let's see if I can find it. The captain's log asked, "How are we feeling about angry Holland? His rage was very Anakin Skywalker-ish. How do y'all feel about him channeling his anger
Oh, I
after?"
love that.
I loved it.
That's what I needed to see.
I loved it because it
Yeah,
was justified.
it was
Like
real. Yeah,
I was
that was
hurt
fully
after Aunt May
authentic.
got killed, bro. I was hurt. I was like, bro, I feel you. Like if you go in like that, I feel you, dog.
And
Because
like
that one,
when I saw her get hit, I was like, "Oh, it's done." And then she
yeah,
got up and was talking. I was like, "Oh, I guess she's all right." And then you started to see her fall and collapse. I'm like, "Oh wow!"
yeah, yeah.
I
That was
like how
tough.
they did that.
Yeah, that was
Yeah,
tough. Like she's like, because she's in complete shock, but she cares that much for Peter that like she's able to just
just
you
on
know
autopilot. Just
just make sure he's okay, and then
yeah,
as soon as that adrenaline rush is over, like and it's like, woo, man, that's tough. That's tough. That's tough. That was like I think that was the best uh death scene of the for like the mentor, the the Uncle Ben and May characters that we've seen. Like that was because for me that was far more impactful because we had actually had time to see this relationship develop
yeah,
over the course of 3 movies, technically 4. What? Because I forgot Civil War too. We were introduced to her,
yeah.
so like
That
we
and the
know,
actions leading up were all connected. Like
yeah,
Yeah.
you
like
got to see her involvement.
yeah, and we
And
saw how like pivotal she was in his life. It wasn't implied in the story because like each of the other Uncle Bens were killed in the first act. In the first movie, we actually got to she was a part, an integral uh character for so long in Tom Holland's life that like that death scene really had impact. Like I don't think most of the people in the theater did not like. It was an audible gasp when she started to collapse. Like man, it was like the wet work. It was flowing. Like I was tearing up. I'm not gonna lie to
I
you.
got a little teary eyed, but not for that scene. That scene just made me think of other things that caught
Yeah,
me. But
yeah,
there was another scene where I actually did get teary eyed from watching it, but that was at the end when he had to say get that spell put out. And he was
yeah,
saying his goodbyes. I was like, "Eee," gritting the teeth. Ugh.
yeah. That was tough too.
I
That was
think
tough
I'm
too.
sadder now for a Spider-Man than I ever have been. To see him not only lose Aunt May, but then lose everybody to the point where he is now living in this small apartment by himself without much. That was really difficult to watch. It just
Yeah,
made me downright sad. Like he started this movie with everything, and I mean, yeah, he was going with all the stuff from Mysterio, but he still had his best friends. He had other Avengers if he needed them. He had Aunt May, and now he
yeah,
has
MJ.
nothing. He had
He had
MJ.
Happy too. Like
He had Happy,
that shocked me too. I forgot because I wasn't even thinking about Happy until like that he went to the gravesite and I'm like, damn, he don't even remember. I'm like, oh, that's tough.
and Happy took care of them because I was in this conversation earlier. All the Avengers, most of the Avengers who were on Iron Man's side are dead. All the ones who were on his side during Civil War. And everybody else is not well taken care of. They, out trying to figure out how to take care of themselves money wise. Happy made sure that Aunt May and Peter were good. And now that's gone.
Mm-hmm.
But Daniel
Yeah,
Fincher
Yeah.
is gone now.
Dang, I do like that connection you made, Imani. In the beginning of the movie, he did have everything.
He had
By
everything, and
the
now
end
he
of it,
owns
he was just
nothing.
alone.
What's crazy is maybe he didn't realize that because yes, the entire world knew your name, but what would you rather have, that or what you have now?
yeah. Because I
And Daniel
mean,
Fisher,
Well,
I didn't
he made
realize.
initially,
his choice, right? He chose
Huh?
to be alone. He made his choice
I mean,
by
to
the
save
end of
the
it.
world, yeah, he didn't really have a choice. To me, that's not really a choice. It's either
Well, when he walked into the shop to tell Mary Jane, he could have tried to convince her who he was, but he chose not to save them
yeah,
yeah, he did it. The
or to
ultimate
protect them.
decision he made was he did it because he realized he wants to protect his friends. Like it wasn't even about like the initial fear is, yeah, of course, that's why he botched the spell in the first place, because he didn't want his friends to forget who he was. That's why he kept making those exceptions. But then once he realized like the only way he can actually protect them is if they forget who he is, and like them included, like that, he then realized like, okay, it's not about him. Like that was, he was being more selfish in that regard of trying to make sure that, like, okay, all the people that are close to me, like I need them to know that, who I am still. But once he realized, I think he more so realized it in that he cared more about protecting them than them knowing who he was. Like it's not like he's gonna lose them permanently. Like he can still rebuild a relationship with someone. It's not going to be the same, but like at least they're still there and they're safe. And like I think that was the ultimate like sacrifice for him, realizing like okay, if I have to go it alone for a little while in order for my friends and people close to me to be safe, I'd rather that than like to continue to live with the constant fear that something might happen to them, because they, just for the simple fact they know who I am. Because even like if everything kind of like calms down somewhat, they're still going to be famous because they know Spider-Man. So he might be able to protect himself. He can handle himself just fine, but they don't have superpowers, and he can't be around them constant like 24/7. Like that makes them real easy targets. So like it's a terrible predicament, but like that is really the best
It was
option for
the
everybody.
heroic choice.
Yeah.
Yeah. It just leaves me sad. Like, I mean, he can only go up from here. You can't really get like. So I'm
Yeah.
sure the next movie will be an evolution. But I'll say this: if the next movie is Ned and MJ as a couple, and he tries to steal her back, and Ned gets mad, and then he becomes a hobgoblin, I'm gonna feel some type of way. I'm gonna feel some
Yeah.
type
They
of way.
need to not do that. Just keep them as friends, man. Mary Jane and Ned. Don't. Yeah.
It'd
I
be
don't want that.
interesting.
Also,
I
she's not
saw I
Mary
saw
Jane, right?
somebody online talk about like,
She's
no, I don't
MJ.
think, but yeah, I don't think her name is Mary
It's
Jane.
Michelle Johnson or Jones
Yeah,
or
it's Michelle.
something.
Yeah, Michelle Jones. Is her? That's her
Michelle
name.
Jones.
Yeah,
Yeah, but to me, MJ.
she's still, yeah,
Mhm.
she's
Yeah.
MJ. She's still MJ. It's just a different MJ. But
Michelle Jones.
now I saw online someone saying like the idea of them giving Garfield a third movie and introducing um
The black
what's my man?
cat. Oh,
Hmm?
I said the black cat.
Introducing who?
No. Miles Morales in his third movie, and then having a Gwen Stacy character in introduced at MIT for Tom Holland.
I would like to see a Gwen Stacy. I feel like the Andrew Garfield, that's his name, right?
Yeah,
A third movie for him. I'm kind of satisfied with it being at two. Like, let's keep it moving.
yeah. I mean, I'm not. I don't know. I feel like it depends on the story, like that they tell with it.
I liked
Mm.
that series. I was kind of bummed when they decided not to make a third one because I enjoyed it and I wouldn't mind seeing another one. It made $709 million, so I think that's enough movie to be worth it. I also like how they ended it. You know, they teased new characters that we haven't seen in a while. I just mentioned the Black Cat. They introduced her in the end of that movie.
Oh
Uh,
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I
yeah,
forget the ending of that movie. It's been so
um,
long.
Gwen's died and he's all sad. And I think he meets her at work or in a classroom or something, something somewhere. Maybe she was introduced as a like more in a villain type of way. But I don't know. I was just kind of sad that they didn't do that again. But I do agree with Jamie M. It was, you know, wrapped up pretty nicely. And if they were to do it again, they need to get the story right. We don't need any
Yeah,
problems. If you're gonna go back and reintroduce it, it needs to be for a good reason.
yeah.
Yeah, I would kind of like to see. if they did that right, if they wanted to use one of the Peter Parkers to introduce Miles Morales, I would rather it be Toby and him passing the mantle really to Miles, because he's getting up there in age. Like I think he's how old is he in real life? Like 45. He's pushing 50.
Back in the movie.
He old. I mean, that would line up with the animated movie.
Yeah, like I would like to see him be more of a mentor and like sort of like the Bruce Wayne and Batman Beyond, but not like old and crotchety and Bruce Wayne-y, but like Peter Parker as and like trying to like, hey, let me give you some pointers. Like
that could be Andrew Garfield's character too, though.
Like exactly. Like I think either or.
I think I would like to see him more than Toby.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind either or. Like, given I feel like this was a nice. It was definitely nice seeing Tobey Maguire come back for one last time.
Oh wow,
he's 46. Wow, yeah.
Yeah.
So like
even that little, that convo with Electro and Andrew Spider-Man. That's like that right there is like a segue into that movie.
Damn, I thought you was black.
That man said, "I'm sorry."
Sorry. That's all he could say.
Hey, that was a good line. I like that.
Yeah, don't worry about it.
It's like that's the only thing you could say in that moment.
I'm sorry, dog. I mean, I'm
glad they put that in the movie though. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like,
how do y'all feel about Jamie's Electro switch up?
Much improved.
I enjoyed it.
Much improved.
Yeah, I liked it.
He was like, "Oh, I'm not trying to leave this universe."
Yeah.
Y'all see it.
He was a much better Electro than that second movie.
And also, the thing is, like the funny part of it too is that it's a joint Sony and Marvel project, and the fact that they can be like lighthearted and take jabs at their own mess ups in the previous films, like I enjoy that. Like they literally have fun making this movie because they know that they made mistakes with those movies. They know where they had like weird loopholes and stuff like that, and they took time to like appropriately address it, fix it, and then kind of like set a clean slate for Spider-Man moving forward. Even Venom.
Real quick, that was the crispiest lineup we've seen in a Marvel film. Even like them fibers. The barber was back there with them fibers in the little paper, making sure it was right and tight. That's why he was. Oh, I never got over that.
Yeah, he brought in his own barber for that one. He was like, no.
Absolutely.
I got creative control over this character. I'm gonna get my fade right.
At what point in the timeline was that Electro pulled out of his universe?
They were all pulled right before they were killed. So at one moment, like they were in the process of being killed by their Spider-Man, and then boom, they zipped over. Which is why Doc Ock was so surprised to see Norman Osborn there, because in his universe, by the time he becomes Doc Ock, Norman Osborn is already dead.
Okay, but what Electro didn't know Spider-Man's identity at the time when he was about to die.
Yeah, he never revealed his.
He didn't know his identity, which is like in this movie, he says, "Oh, I thought you were black."
I mean, at this point, they had seen all of their faces.
No.
Electro
in the Garfield movies never saw his face. Like he didn't know.
Yeah.
What Peter
is that Electro further along in the timeline of his universe, which may mean he never that because he would have to have known Peter Parker was Spider-Man for him to get pulled in like that. He would have to know Peter Parker's identity.
Spider-Man, you still had no Peter Parker and still interacted with him. You may not have known who he was personally, but in his universe, he was still reacting with Peter Parker, just not knowing it.
They were
okay, so he knew who Peter Parker was.
No. He knew who Spider.
He knew Peter Parker.
Yes, technically, he did not know who Peter Parker was, but he
Right.
knew
Peter
Spider-Man,
Parker.
and he was pulled in because Peter Parker is Spider-Man, which is
But
why
not that he didn't know that Peter Parker was Spider-Man. Like he
Yeah.
knows Peter Parker and he knows Spider-Man, but he doesn't necessarily know Peter Parker and Spider-Man are the same
Yeah.
person.
Yeah, because the
prior to
spell
him
was
being
everyone
born.
who knew Peter Parker.
right, but Peter Parker is Spider-Man, which is why
Well,
at the
hold
end
on.
of the movie, when the
Was
timeline
it?
was collapsing and you
Yeah.
see all of the different villains pop out, you saw some villains like the Rhino guy. The Rhino guy didn't know the identity of Peter Parker, excuse me, of Spider-Man, but he knew Spider-Man. So yes, it was bring everybody who knows Peter Parker, but because Peter Parker is Spider-Man, it was bring everyone who knows Peter Parker or Spider-Man, period. They're one and the same person.
Yeah, for the
Even if
spell.
he's not
For the
wearing a
spell.
Spider-Man suit, he's still Spider-Man and he's still Peter Parker even when he has his suit on.
Yeah, like this for the spell. Peter
I don't
Parker
know.
and
That seemed
Spider-Man
like
are
a
the same.
stretch.
No, because
The enchantment was Peter. Everyone who knew Peter Parker as Spider-Man. That was the spell to stop
Right.
everyone, to keep everyone from knowing Peter Parker was Spider-Man. So, and then when the spell got messed up, it reversed it and was like everyone who knows Peter Parker is Spider-Man in other universes is coming into this universe.
I took it as anyone who knows Spider-Man, not Peter Parker
Yeah,
specifically. But remember,
that's how I
he
took it
also
too.
jacked up the spell royally, so whatever was supposed to happen wasn't going to happen regardless because he messed it up. Although I'm not blaming that on Peter, I'm blaming that on Doctor Strange. That's still Doctor
Yeah.
Strange's part, in my opinion. That's not Peter's fault.
But like, so if there's the possibility that Electro is actually an Electro from further in the timeline or something, maybe we could see another Spider-Man story with Electro. Maybe that could be something Miles Morales and Andrew Garfield go up against. I don't know.
Yeah, he might be from an entirely different universe than the Electro
Altogether.
that we
That's
saw
what I mean.
in the Garfield. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, there is way. Yeah. Okay. I see what you're saying. Yeah. Well, see, it's possible that if that's the case, right? Like it doesn't
Because
necessarily.
he's the only outlier.
He could never have interacted with or know what Peter Parker looks like. He may know that Peter Parker is Spider-Man, but never seen who Peter Parker was. Like that Electro may have found out that Peter Parker is Spider-Man and have been like, "Oh, well, let me figure out who Peter Parker is," but never got a chance to.
Yeah. Because even with Venom getting pulled in, we never see Venom knowing who Peter Parker was, aside from the Venom in the third movie. But that's like a whole different Venom, right?
Yeah.
But then I found out that symbiote, they have like a hive mind that collects memories and data across universes. So they're linked. They're all linked. So that would make sense. The symbiote that's Venom.
Okay.
Did I say that right? The symbiote? The symbiotic alien.
Isn't it just symbiote?
Yeah, symbiote.
Symbiote.
What did you say? Symbiote?
Not like symbiote. The symbiote. How you say it? Symbiote?
Now you go back.
Symbiotics.
Symbiote.
Symbiote.
We go kumbaya over the symbiote.
Yeah. Symbiote. Yeah, the symbiote. It's like a hive mind.
Hey yo.
So the Venom in that Spider-Man 3 movie knew Peter Parker's identity. So that meant that Tom Hardy's Venom would know Peter Parker's identity. Symbiote. Hey,
man.
That's gonna be Elon Musk's next child name. Go spell it just like that.
Oh man. Whew, that's great. That's great stuff right
What
there.
did I hear? Something like they had to change his name because the Social Security Administration wouldn't put that on a card, or something was messed up legally. The baby needed some sort of paperwork and they couldn't get it because his name wasn't a real name.
Yeah, you can't you can't fill in the bubbles on your end of grade tests with that name. There's no symbols for that.
That's true, because oh yeah, they don't have
Yeah,
those symbols on there.
Elon Musk not that smart. That's the people that work for him. He just a face.
Bro, you talk about fake deep. That was fake. That name is fake deep, dude. Like,
Yeah.
like, bro. Anyways, Doctor Strange. Y'all want to talk about that trailer, or like, what's up?
I liked it. I liked the trailer, and I like how they kept it a secret. I like how they put it at the end of the credits. I want to see more movies like that, where we get the first tease. Yeah,
like tease. Like, I like the having that mid-credit connective teaser that like connects one movie or several movies to another movie. Like, well, either a future project or past project to whatever you just watched, and then like have a teaser at the end credits like we did, because I wasn't expecting that to be a teaser. Like, honestly, I had no idea what it was. I didn't look and see what the end or mid credit scenes would be. I like that, have that go into the Marvel movies with that surprise, because I'm like, I know kind of sort of what's coming up, but I don't know if we're going to see anything related to it in the in those post credit scenes. And like when it started playing, I was like, wait a second, like, is this a teaser? And then and it makes perfect sense that they have a Doctor Strange related post credit scene in this movie, being that we just saw him in this movie, like he was an integral part of the movie. But to get a teaser trailer was like, that was a big surprise. That was one of the biggest surprises for me, having been spoiled about a lot of things, thanks to the internet and one John Campia.
Who is John Campia?
Man, I don't want to talk about it. he's an internet YouTuber like us, got a lot of inside connections. And he inadvertently spoiled the fact that my man Matt Murdock and Andrew Garfield and Tobey Maguire are all in the movie, because he was given some images, some actual legitimate set images with all those characters in it, and he posted it online trying to debunk them, but they were actually real. And that was, bro, I knew that Daredevil was going to be in this movie. I knew like basically the scene with him sitting at the dinner table having a conversation about like what his legal
I saw
options.
that
was thanks to John Campia, that ended up on the internet. And then the scenes with Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield in costume with their mask off talking to Tom Holland on the I think it was on the Statue of Liberty, when they were like huddled, that he had leaked that too. So that was, I had avoided those spoilers. Like, I knew that was the rumor, but I hadn't seen any substantial proof. And then that happened, like right before Thanksgiving.
Dang.
But anyway, on to Doctor Strange.
We never talked about Matt Murdock. Not only was it cool to see him there as a lawyer, but it was cool to see him move real quick and grab the brick. And Tom peeped that you just a lawyer. You're not supposed to be able to do that. What's going on here? So I really liked that. He's like, you're blind and how did you do that?
Bro, it was a scene straight out of the Netflix series.
Yep.
Fantastic. Yep. I really hope we get to see him again. He deserves a film.
Tom might go try to pay him a visit, Matt Murdock, after all this.
I want to see that team up. Like, I want to see Tom and Daredevil in the next movie.
That's a mean tag team.
I want to see Miles and Garfield in his next movie, and Toby. I think
Toby can rest. He can sit on the recliner.
Toby's done what he's had to do. Like, he's good. He's good in my book.
Him being 46 sounds crazy. That means I'm getting old too.
It's crazy.
It's a blessing.
Matt Murdock deserves another film. They need to give that Daredevil another film. It's time. The whole Netflix debacle ended in a sour note for me, but I thoroughly enjoyed the the Daredevil show. Also, if they're gonna give us Kingpin and Matt Murdock, and if they're gonna bring in the Venom from the other movie, it's time for us to get some Punisher. I still think the Punisher is the most accurate storytelling of any Marvel show, movie, period. They need to bring that back. That was a fire show.
Yeah, I mean, Punisher. I was just watching this animated series tonight of Spider-Man, and I forgot that he was in that series. He'd be a
From what
perfect character
I've
for a Spider-Man movie, or vice versa.
from what I've heard, John Bernthal, Matt Murdock, and then of course Vincent D'Onofrio, they're all in talks to reprise their roles from the Netflix shows. Those are the only characters that I've heard continuously in conversations about returning in future projects, and like fairly soon, like within the next 5 years, basically.
I had some news. I know I just want to take us off topic for 2 seconds while we're talking about the Netflix show. I know we all have a lot of feelings on the Mahershala Ali casting and how they killed off Cottonmouth. Mahershala Ali went to the Breakfast Club a couple weeks ago and did an interview about his new movie, and they asked him about that because they were very upset that Cottonmouth was killed, as is everyone
Like
who's ever
literally
seen
the
the show.
entire internet.
And
Everyone who
he
watched that show was mad.
he only took the role because the character was going to be killed. So the character was always supposed to be killed, and that's the reason why Mahershala was attracted to the role. And I think now that I know this information, I think Mahershala, although maybe not as popular then as he is now, that was probably a huge overcasting, and they just couldn't see it at the time, because we should not be so attached to this character that was always supposed to die. He died. There was one episode where the characters in the show were sad, and then that was it.
I
I don't
don't
think I'm
have an
satisfied with
issue
that.
with his death. I have an issue with how he was killed and how soon he was killed. I feel like he should have been the big bad. He could have died at the end. Like that could have been the season finale. Like, but he was a better villain than Cottonmouth. Like
You
point
mean
blank period.
what's his name? Not Cottonmouth.
Or not Cottonmouth. The other one. Point.
Dragonfly.
Case in point.
Dragonfly Jones.
Yeah, case in point. He was the superior villain. Like he should have been the main throughout the entire season, and then you kill him off at the end of the season, and you bring in a new villain for season 2. He should not have been killed off like halfway through the show. Like in my opinion, they
No, it
overcast
wasn't
the character.
Bushmaster. It
Bushmaster
wasn't
was
Bush.
season two.
Bushmaster was season 2. Season 1 it was Marsha and I can't think of the man's name. Yellow
That's
Jacket.
because he wasn't Mahershala playing Cottonmouth. I think that's the problem. No one could out. That was the best performance on the show, period. And he died in what, episode 3? Or I mean 4 or 5?
Episode 5. Episode 5.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Diamondback. Yeah, that's it.
Diamondback. Yeah.
We were going
I
through.
said Dragonfly Jones.
I was thinking scorpion in my head, but I knew it wasn't right, and I knew it was going to come up with some animal that I don't like. Thank you, Captain Dog. But yeah, the character was always supposed to die, which is why he took it, because previously he was on House of Cards and he had been on it for several seasons, and he wanted off the show, not because he had a problem with the show, but he was afraid of getting stuck as just being the black guy on a show. He said, if I stay this, I'm going to get a lot more roles like this, and yes, I'll keep a job, but is this what I want for my stamp to be on in acting? I want to do more things. And he said, had he stayed on the show, he wouldn't have gotten Moonlight. He would have been able to be Cottonmouth. So that's why he left, and that's why he took the role of Cottonmouth, only because Cottonmouth was going to die.
And that's completely understandable. I don't feel like he should have. I don't think the character should have extended beyond one season, but he should have gotten a full season. Like that's all I'm saying. Like I don't think he would have been against his character lasting for a full season. I think he just needed to know that there was an end point, and he wasn't going to get stuck in that character. Because when you're shooting TV or film, like you're on a concise schedule, so it really wouldn't have affected him all that much. He would have been blocked out for those 6 to 8 weeks that they were shooting that show, plus the uh, additional photography that is added into the contract just in case they need to do any reshoots. Like, so he would have been able to block that and then still had time on his schedule to do other projects. But you know, a lot of times, like the streaming services will stream seasons back to back or like within the same block. Like they'll wrap and then have like a 2 week break and then shoot the second season, or something like that. But like he could have survived one season, and Mahershala could have gone on to do other things, unless it would have been a scheduling conflict. And then like I would have much rather. I think the character of Cottonmouth was a far more compelling character than Diamondback. So even if Mahershala wasn't able to commit to that, full season schedule, they could have cast someone else to do it, and I think it would have been a far more effective villain throughout the show than Diamondback was. Diamondback was so shallow and not nowhere near as complex as Cottonmouth was as a character, and as a villain to Luke Cage, aka Power Man.
The Marvel shows on the Netflix shows had a really good job at making some of the villains so compelling that you wanted them to win. Like Cottonmouth wasn't necessarily a good dude, but we don't care at all. We do not care.
Yeah, I mean, making it good villains are relatable because like you can understand. It's not being, you don't necessarily justify their actions, but you can understand how they got to this point, and you understand why they're doing what they're doing, but you're not justifying it. But that level of understanding makes it good because you're like, it creates that conflict as a viewer, like, ooh, yeah, he's a bad guy, but I do get how and why he's doing what he's doing. I can't justify it, but it's still like, it's compelling because we understand. Like, we see situations in real life where just circumstances can shape and define someone that we know and send them on a path that we don't necessarily agree with. So when we see it in fiction, it's like that adds to the relation of the characters. It's exaggerated in many circumstances, but it's still believable because we understand how circumstances shape our lives. So like it's a much better villain to watch than someone who's being, like I say, evil for the sake of being evil. Like that's such a like washed and dated way of writing characters. Yeah. Where like you've just got this upstanding, morally infallible good guy, and then this just demonstrative evil person that you just don't understand, like how like that's such an old way of telling stories. Like now we like a little bit more complexity. Like we want to be able to understand like that the heroes have flaws and that the villains have morals. They're just circumstances have just deviated their trajectory. Like you see the similarities in the hero and the villain between the two, and you understand how life circumstances basically led them down the paths that they kind of took. It humanizes both the hero and the villain. I mean, it makes both the hero and the villain look a lot more relatable.
Yeah, I think they did that in the Spiderman movie with Tom Holland in the dungeon when they had all the villains caged up, mm-hmm. and they had the choice to send them back to their death or to keep them there and try to save them. Because in that moment, I was like, man, if you don't send them back to their world, for them to die, quit tripping. But then I had to think about it. I'm like, oh, this is who Spider-Man is. He helps people, regardless of any circumstance. With great power comes great responsibility. And that was a great responsibility to try and save those people that he knew were villains.
That's another reason why I'm mad at Doctor Strange. Because why would you tell him that? Like, one thing you can count on is Peter Parker is gonna make what looks like the wrong decision, for the right reason. He is always going to do everything he can to do what he thinks is the right thing. Because I mean, yes, they could have sent all those people back to their deaths, but then he knew he could help them, and so he wanted to help them. But then look at what it cost. Now you alone by yourself in a dirty apartment, fam. But that's back to Doctor Strange. I'm blaming it all on Doctor Strange.
Yeah,
And
well,
him
it
and
goes
Mary
back to the
J.
characters,
MJ's.
though.
Go ahead, Coop. I don't
Yeah,
want to deviate.
it just goes back to the characters of Doctor Strange and Peter Parker. Like they have two different moral compasses. Like Peter Parker has a much purer moral compass than Doctor Strange does. It makes him a more pure hero than Strange. Like Strange is more in that neutral gray area. Like he's leaning good, but he isn't like the purest.
Would you say he's chaotic good? You know that little scale?
Yeah.
What's the one down from chaotic good?
It's neutral good, I believe.
I'm looking at it right now. Underneath chaotic good is chaotic neutral.
Yeah, he's not chaotic
chaotic neutral.
You've got like lawful good. You've got
definitely not that.
You've got neutral. Yeah, he's not. That's
like Iron Man.
That's
or
Steven.
something.
No, that's Steve. That's Steve Rogers. He's lawful.
But he went against the law though.
Is he lawful neutral?
Lawful neutral, possibly.
Doctor Strange, I could see that lawful neutral.
Yeah,
I'm trying to find a chart with Marvel heroes on it.
Well, while Imani's looking at that, the chemistry with MJ and Tom Holland Spider-Man in this movie was great too.
It was.
Their connection, even their dialogue, which it all seemed really authentic.
I'm not seeing one with Doctor Strange on it. If anybody needs to be on that list, it's him. Let's see.
Yeah, he's kind of chaotic good, because it's lawful good, neutral good, and then chaotic good. Like
he's got to be chaotic good then.
He's a little bit more chaotic good because he's going to now, and then you also have lawful neutral, which he's not lawful.
Oh, they say his alignment is neutral good.
That was before this movie came out. I can't see neutral good after him just choosing to write a spell after Peter and his friends don't get into MIT.
That would make. I feel like neutral good is a little. I could see neutral good.
Yeah, he's somewhere between.
Because his actions are like his actions weren't bad, but they weren't good at the same time.
Like he's neutral good, but he's leaning towards like chaotic good. Like that's where he can spiral out of control. Like, because he's got too much power to be a chaotic good. Because him being chaotic good with the power that he has can go downhill real quick.
Yeah, that's like the Hulk is chaotic good.
Yeah, but if the Hulk had magic powers, like that would be a problem. Like that, that would be crazy.
Bruce Banner can't be a sorcerer.
I found a chart that has more options on it than before. I can share this so y'all can see.
Yeah, right. What we got?
I'm gonna zoom in a little bit because this one adds levels. So on top of you have good, moral, neutral, impure, and then evil. Going downwards and then across, you've got lawful, social, neutral, rebel, and chaotic. And so they have Doctor Strange at a social moral.
Okay. Yeah. Because he.
What is that saying?
What's the
I sense a great change in your future. Destiny has dire plans for you, my friend.
What? That's useless.
I guess what movie
Is
did
that
he
a
say
quote
that
from
in?
him?
That's a quote from him because the quote next to him, they have Ant-Man at neutral moral, and the quote is "Run like hell, and if I tear myself in half, don't come back for me." Isn't that when he made himself giant in some movie?
Oh no. How is that Wanda marked as rebel moral?
Yeah, this I think this
That's
this
wrong.
chart. Yeah, this chart is
That's
outdated a little
not
bit.
accurate.
Yeah,
The more I look
No
at it,
way is she moral.
I think this is. I don't think what's his name, Drac belongs in lawful or neutral.
hell no.
He's
I
chaos no
wouldn't.
matter where he
Yeah, he
goes.
is chaos. He is the chaotic ones. He is not.
I'm gonna find out who made that, and then we're gonna shun them. I'm gonna just remove that.
Maybe he's chaotic neutral. Maybe he's chaotic neutral.
Who, Drax?
Yeah.
Definitely, but he's got to. How is the Hulk?
Whatever he is, chaotic is attached to it. He's not bad though. He's either chaotic neutral or chaotic good, like one of those. But I would say more neutral because he's a little vengeful. He's not a little. He's very vengeful.
Yeah.
They have
This is too much.
Groot, and yeah, this is garbage.
This is too much.
Alrighty then, that's enough of that. Sorry, y'all. Ignore that I put that up there. I'm gonna find out who made that, and we're gonna shun them.
Yeah, that was fun. Fun little segment.
Sorry, I figured we should put it up for those who may not know what we were talking about, but I put up a terrible list.
It was good for context.
Yeah, that was good. That was good. So with the symbiote.
Yep.
Symbiote. I forget the name. Anyways, that thing that Venom left behind, who's gonna get attached to it?
Well, we don't know who Brock is in the 616 in the MCU, because that's the Sony property technically. Like that's what's his name? What's the actor's name?
Tom Hardy.
Tom Hardy. Tom Hardy, Tom Holland.
And they're both English.
And they're both English. Different regions, different. But anyway, I think it presents an opportunity for them to cast their own Brock and for Tom Holland, possibly, or they could do some more. I mean, I wouldn't be opposed to seeing. I did see something online that according to, I think it was Variety, but a larger publication, one of the reputable sources was saying that Sony and Marvel are actively looking at bringing the 3 Spider-Men on screen sooner than later again, and like I would like to see a true Sinister Six movie with the Spider-Man in it, and like possibly, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know how you would do that, because I'm also a little confused about the whole breaking of the multiverse, because that last scene where all of the past Spider-Man villains started coming through looked a lot like the end of Loki, where the sacred timeline was destroyed. Like I'm curious to know how this ties into that event, because
this would have to have happened after Loki, just because if it was during Loki, then the Spider-Mans and the villains that were popping into this timeline would have got yanked by the TVA.
Time works differently in the TVA. So even though like past, present, or future, what happened when Sylvie broke the timeline, that technically happened at a lot of different times, if that makes sense.
Because remember when
if it happened,
but remember she bombed the sacred timeline with those, and so she created like a bunch of Nexus events before they even crossed the threshold. And
Yeah.
so, like, I'm thinking that maybe that spell, when that spell happened simultaneously when Sylvie broke, bombed the sacred timeline and created a bunch of Nexus events, and they weren't able to stop them before they hit the threshold. And then that threshold moment was when the sky turned purple and looked like the season finale of Loki.
I
And
don't
then
know if they connected it that deep.
I don't
they,
even.
They've been missing all the points up to this day.
I
Well,
don't
I don't know.
disagree
Loki
with
seems
you.
to be the most cohesive of the stories we've gotten so far. Like they seem to actually had an idea of a plan for that one
I,
more so
I
than
kind
the others.
I kind of agree with JBM, but also they sent back those villains differently. So they changed all of those timelines because he cured them and then
Yeah,
sent
they're variants. They're
so
just like a Loki variant now.
right. And let's just say the way that they lined it up is, when Sylvie, bombed the timeline or when she killed He Who Remains, the TVA may not have been able to get all those people. So those timelines are forever screwed now. Because I personally don't want to think about it as Tom Holland lost Aunt May and did all of that work just to send somebody back to their timeline and the TVA pop up like, nah, son, you ain't supposed to be here. You supposed to die. We're gonna get you out of here. Boom. Because if that's the case,
Yeah,
that was for nothing.
that's what. Yeah, that's what I think. I think this is after Loki. Like the TVA doesn't work anymore. That's been destroyed.
We need
Yeah,
another
like
Loki
so
show.
after just completely after the Nexus
Yeah,
threshold.
because they would have got taken out. All them people coming into that universe would have got taken out.
Possibly.
It
The
would have
only
showed up
reason
as a Nexus event.
it,
They would have had to get taken out.
but it would not.
Multiple.
I'm not saying that it happened. It didn't happen prior to Sylvie bombing the sacred timeline. Like, because they could. It's easy to prune a Nexus event prior to her doing that because they were in full scramble mode. Like, it seemed like they
Yeah,
didn't even have enough people to fix those timelines
yeah,
um, after she bombed it. And that's my only argument. Given the amount of time that passed and how long they were in the 616, it's possible that this happens like
during that moment.
yeah when Doctor Strange is casting the spell is the same time that Sylvie bombs the sacred timeline, and that allows for them to come into the multiverse and actually persist there without the TVA intervening because they're too damn busy going to try and prune all the other variant timelines. They don't have the manpower and resources to get to that one yet.
Do you think
And then
that?
Sylvie kills He Who Remains, and that's what allows them basically to persist there until Strange casts the counterspell to send them back to their respective timelines.
Yeah. Do you think that undermines Doctor Strange's own logic about what happened with the spell when he cast it? Because from his POV, he knew what went wrong and he knew why it happened. So, like, he
Yes.
had no inclination of this being tied to what was happening at TVA. So,
Yeah, but the
and
TVA
he
would
knew,
have intervened either before he cast a spell or like shortly after, knowing that. So that would not have happened. That whole interaction that would happen completely different. Like perhaps on the sacred timeline, Tom Holland actually goes and has a conversation with the MIT administration to get his friends back into school before casting the spell. Or maybe in that version, that Doctor Strange tells him to go talk to the administration before he casts a spell or something. It could
yeah.
be that simple.
I mean, maybe still, but even the way he fixed the leak was by casting the the initial spell.
Mm-hmm.
So it seems like the fix is far removed from the possibility of it happening at the same time of those multiple Nexus events.
I can tell
So
you
I
that
feel like it's safe to say it happened after.
Doctor
Okay,
Strange
yeah, I see
probably
what you're
won't
saying.
know either way. Because I just realized, like, he knowingly sent those people back to their timelines different. And he is one of the people should know who should know about how to handle time and that you can't mess with it too much. Although in the comics, he and the TVA go at it a lot. They're always catching him from doing stuff he's not supposed to be doing. So he high key doesn't respect them. However, he should know how much he's damaging time by sending those people back there. The only thing that's messing me up is he going to remember that moment? Because he no longer knows who Spider-Man is. Wouldn't you kind of have to, in order to wipe Spider-Man out of your mind, he would have to forget about that entire event? Because he said it himself, everyone who loves you won't remember you anymore. I'm not going to remember you anymore. That was also his way of like admitting that he loves Peter Parker, which made my like heart beat a little bit. But that's another person who loves Peter that Peter is now losing. So that's neither here nor there. So is he going to have recollection of that event in his movie? I would like to know.
Yeah. MJ and Ned too, I would like to know how they remember that whole event playing out. Or really anybody, like, do they remember video footage of Spider-Man fighting in Paris?
No,
Do
all
they,
of that would have to be
like,
wiped.
yeah, would it
Like,
just be a blur to them? Or like would they see that as Spider-Man and just not connect it to Peter Parker? You know what I mean? Do they
possibly.
like,
That's possible. Like it's
yeah,
possible that them connecting Peter Parker to Spider-Man is what's been removed.
is the block?
Yeah.
Right.
Like it's because that's the easiest thing to do, right? Like it's just
Yeah.
forget that person is also Spider-Man, because Spider-Man still exists and Peter Parker still exists. It's just you gotta eliminate that connection for people.
Yeah.
I
So
am a bit messed up because when he walked into the donut shop, they didn't know who he was. Yes, they don't know who's Spider-Man, but at least Ned was his best friend. Ned doesn't even know who you are anymore.
well, he didn't speak to
Yeah,
Ned at all though.
because
So
they can't.
yeah. I think if
Well,
he speaks to
yeah,
Ned,
they
there'll be
should though.
some feeling because they showed that with MJ. It's like she caught a vibe from him that
It's
seemed
fine.
that was maybe familiar to her.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Well, it might just be how the spell works. Like you forget, you have to, that blanket wipe might be the easiest way to eliminate, because then you have to get way too specific with the cat, with the
Didn't that
spell.
happen
Like
in Harry Potter? Like, did a mind spell on people to forget something?
Hermione did
yes,
a spell on
Hermione
her
did.
parents to forget her, and all proof of her
All
existence just
evidence like just
disappeared
got.
from. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's probably the enchantment, just a block or anything associated with Peter Parker is just a like
Yeah,
you
like
don't
because
even notice it. It's a
she
code
disappeared from
white.
family photos and everything. Like, and I think to your point, that's probably exactly how they approached it. I mean that makes sense, right? Like
Hmm.
just do a blanket wipe. Just you don't know who this person is
Shout
anymore.
out to Hermione.
All right, so I have another thing to say because Happy knew who May was, but didn't know who Peter was. If in this next movie, Peter Parker is just like this, how the spell worked, his just whole existence just disappeared off the side of the earth. Not just Spider-Man. Nobody who knows who he was, he doesn't exist. He don't have no social security card, no birth certificate, no school records, and now he got to fight for his life. And he's a photographer for the Daily Bugle or whatever it is, because that's the only thing he could afford. I'm gonna be mad.
Well, I
I
mean,
think no, I
his
think physical
existence.
copies is there.
Yeah,
It's just people won't connect the two.
yeah, they
Like
have a
it'll
record.
be like seeing it for the first time.
Record of his existence is still there. It's just that the association people have with him is gone.
Yeah. It's like meeting them for the first time.
Yeah,
It better be.
yeah.
Because I'm
Like he doesn't. His everything he's done still happened. It's just that people don't know that he existed.
Yeah.
Such a
That's
way to like
because
they
like
didn't wipe
someone
his existence. It's just that connection, that social connection people have with Peter Parker is gone.
yeah, because they could still see a picture of him half face, half mask. It would just be like a mental blur to everyone of seeing his face.
It's too complicated for them to explain any further in the films anyway. So like they're just gonna keep moving like people have no idea who this guy is.
Yeah.
at the end of the day.
He did MJ dirty at the end, though, man. He gave her a promise. He ain't followed through. He said he was going to tell her.
He better
come
smile.
back to
It
her.
wasn't the right time. It wasn't right. Time was off.
That's what we
that would be kind of a weird place to kind of just like do that. Like though, you know what I'm saying? Like I'm a dump all of this information on you right here out of the blue when you don't know who I am. Like I
mean, she did just finish a battle. Like they would remember the battle. She still had the bandage.
That's
so it would be kind of relevant timing.
I wonder what her recollection of that is though.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Her and Ned, how they remember that fight.
That whole situation. Like
it's gonna be her and Ned save the world, and that's why they're gonna fall in love. And Tom is gonna he's gonna keep putting it off on he approaches her, and when he finally is ready to do it, they engaged, and now he's mad, and then him and Ned got to fight, and then Ned is gonna become the Hobgoblin.
That's crazy.
See, didn't in the comics, but that's when he meets Gwen Stacy, isn't it? Like they're in college, and MJ is the one that has the crush on Spider-Man.
Maybe he's Miles Morales, Hobgoblin or something.
Nah, that don't make sense. That don't make sense. You know, that's like that. That does nothing.
Sense.
You know what I'm saying? That does nothing. Like you could do that, but like that,
yeah, that's Hawkeye level trash.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? That's like that. Just horrible writing. Like, oh, we don't want him and Tom Holland to go at each other. Like, nah, bro. It's tragic, but we need that.
Yeah. Can y'all see Ned as a villain though? I can't see him yet. I gotta see him.
I can when he takes that wig off. That's a wig he's wearing. Man, he's bald without that. He looks real different. The actor.
Yeah.
Hold on, I'm gonna show you.
Could you imagine little Anakin Skywalker pod racing on Boonta Eve to become a villain?
I still can't imagine him on that pod racer.
That's what I'm saying, man. Look, man, circumstances, dog. Circumstances.
It's working.
Actually, I'm not.
Something crazy happens. Spider-Man trying to save somebody ends up like he.
Yeah, but those are also like two different people playing the same character. You know, like the actor that's playing Ned. Like I need to see something from him to see if he Hobgoblin.
Why they put this wig on him? I don't understand why he needed that.
He had to be appeasable, friendly looking. The bald cut's not too friendly.
Well,
you got Kingpin vibes.
If you take it off, Kingpin. If you take it off, he can get evil.
William Dafoe's Green Goblin looked more like Hobgoblin in this movie.
Like because he had like the hood situation going on, right?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, they did. They gave Ned magic, so you know maybe they're gonna take him in another direction. We need to see him in the Cabotage learning in the next Doctor Strange.
He might be in Multiverse of Madness. He might be in Multiverse of Madness. Like I wouldn't be surprised,
even if he's just in the background.
Because think about it, right? We were talking about in WandaVision, like, why is Doctor Strange and where are Doctor Strange and Spider-Man? Like, we were talking about that all of WandaVision and Falcon and the Winter Soldier. One, we kind of have an answer. Nobody knows who Spider-Man is anymore. Like, I think that the events of Falcon and Wanda, like, I don't think they know who Spider-Man is. Like, he's just not around. Like, no one called on Spider-Man because they didn't know who he was. They'd forgotten. And then Doctor Strange, he's probably dealing with, I think, so the events possibly of this movie and WandaVision may be concurrent. And then the Spider-Man stuff, because they were in New York, like, why wouldn't Falcon and the Winter Soldier, like, why wouldn't Falcon call Spider-Man? Where was Spider-Man when all this was happening? Like, nobody knew who Spider-Man was. Like, that happened after the events of this movie. And then Doctor Strange is not available because Doctor Strange is dealing with Multiverse of Madness with Wanda during Falcon and the Winter Soldier.
I can see that during Falcon and the Winter Soldier, but I don't think that Spider-Man was unavailable during WandaVision. Not because
that wasn't anywhere near New York, though.
It was in Jersey. But I just figured the only reason why he
Oh,
was
Spider-Man.
unavailable,
Spider-Man never goes to Jersey. Why would Spider-Man go to Jersey?
the only reason why no one was available was because Wanda was so powerful that her magic wasn't just affecting people that were in the bubble. People outside of the bubble no longer thought that that city existed. There was
That's
only
true.
a small group of people who thought that that city should be there, and it wasn't.
Well, Strange is one of them, but he didn't.
Yeah, Wanda had to happen before this Spider-Man movie.
Wanda takes place 2 weeks after Endgame.
Yeah, so it's way after. It's way before the Spider-Man
That
movie.
is way before. I forgot.
It had to be like Strange went to go see Wanda at the end of this movie. So
Yeah.
I need to see Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. I'm really upset, y'all. We haven't spoken
It's
about
May
it.
6th.
I'm counting the days down. We haven't spoken about it in a while, but Doctor Strange was my number one Marvel hero. Like, if I was playing video games, I pick him every time. My number one. And I have lost a lot of respect for him. I would still choose him in a fight, but he's wilding and I need him to get it back together. I don't like this behavior.
this
Back
movie
that.
might set him straight.
Back to that. I think it will, because that we saw the darker, evil Strange that we saw in What If. I think that that's basically the same character that you see. And from like, did you see the poster?
Mm-mm.
I saw it, but I didn't analyze it.
There are 3 Doctor Stranges in that poster, and then 2 Wandas on the poster. Like they look the same, but you can clearly see that one of them is the darker, like the more evil, sinister Doctor Strange, and then there's the other 2 that look different, slightly different, and then you got the 2 Wandas. I put it in the Discord.
You put it in the Marvel chat?
Yeah, it should be.
I am looking.
I think. Did I put it in there? Yeah.
Captain Marvel added
something
that had Doctor Strange's lawful neutral.
Oh, I got it.
Oh, I see now.
Oh, you see it?
That's a nice poster. I would put that on my wall. That's a very nice poster. That Doctor Strange, the one to the far right, that's got to be the evil one.
Yeah.
His facial hair is a little longer.
Yeah. Do see that. Interessante.
All right, why is that not working?
I missed out on some quality gifts here during the Discord that I see from last week.
Where was that? I didn't put that on screen.
Sorry.
Did I retweet that on Gumbo? I think I did. I feel like I did.
How long do we need before we can add Spider-Man to our list?
Ranking?
Mm-hmm.
Ooh, did we rank Eternals and
Shang-Chi? We didn't rank Eternals.
I know we did Shang-Chi.
We did
Shang-Chi. No, we did rank Eternals. You 2 ranked Eternals.
Did you see that? Mm-mm. Okay, you still haven't seen it.
Yeah.
I'm going to check the drive. I think JBM.
Wow. Huh?
JBM is right. We only ranked Black Widow and Shang-Chi. Even though I can't find it. It's in there somewhere.
Coop, I just saw your comment in the basketball channel. That's good. Yo.
We're getting up on 2 hours here.
Man.
Oh man, join the Discord.
Yes.
Round of applause.
Is there anything else we have to talk about today? Because I think we have slowly fizzled out.
We fizzled out, man. I'm tapped out. I'm sorry.
Yeah, man. This week is over.
Merry Christmas, y'all. This will be the
Merry
last
Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Yeah. Happy holidays. Happy Kwanzaa.
Holidays. If we don't see each other beforehand, Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Thank you as always for watching. Please like this video, subscribe to our channel, and turn on those notifications. Okay. Please follow us on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and Twitch at Certified Gumbo. Just like Coop and JBM mentioned, there's some hotness going on in the basketball chat and Gumbo. So please join us on Discord. We talk about this and more all day, every day. Please buy us some. Link is in the description bar down below.
Oh,
did I miss anything?
No.
What doesn't something come out? Book of Boba Fett, the 29th,
Book
right?
of Boba, 28th.
28th. That's 6 days away, y'all. Get ready. You gonna stream?
Man, I've heard. Yeah, you know I'm streaming that. That might be an episode, daily episode upload stream, because I've heard some really interesting things in these past. I've been trying to stay away from spoilers because I want to experience this one, because I think from what I've heard, there's some interesting things that this is going to lead up to, and some interesting connections being made between this show and Mandalorian and the future Star Wars projects in this time period. So yeah, I might do I think I'll do a stage Friday. What's Friday? Christmas Eve? Sometime before, probably earlier, not this late in the day, but maybe around 3 or 4. I'll post it. Check the events tab in the Discord. It'll be a Star Wars Boba Fett conversation. So I invite you all to join me and pay attention to the event tab, and I'll make sure I'll put an announcement out too prior to that event going live in the Discord. If you want to ask me questions related to Star Wars or Boba Fett or whatever, that is your time to do it. I'll invite you on stage. You can ask me the question. You can ask me in the chat. I'll answer it. It's been a while since I did one of those. Last time I did it, it was really fun, so I'm looking forward to doing it again. But yeah, tune into that, and then be on the lookout for the Boba Fett reviews, episodic reviews of that show, because I'm looking forward to that one, man. My boy Boba. JP, got anything?
As always, thanks for being here, man. Y'all have a good night.
Thank y'all.
Yes, sir. Like I always say, peace, love, blessings, and may the force be with you. Merry Christmas and Happy New Year's.